I hate Jaden. I hate him. I actively want something to happen to Jaden. Like, I want to see his head. This Valentine's Day, I decided to write a love poem to Captain Nahla Ake of Starfleet Academy. Okay, just before I share this, I need everyone to understand that it is very difficult to put yourself out there and put your creative self out there. And I just hope that you all will go easy on me just a little bit. Just a little nervous, okay? Roses are red. Your Starfleet is trash. I hope that the Borg assimilates you fast. Okay, but in all seriousness, guys, I have to say, as far as this godforsaken hellscape of a series is concerned, this episode specifically, the latest episode of Starfleet Academy, was actually probably the best one. And when I say the best one, I just mean it as a qualifier, like the best episode in like a container of just dog shit, right? Like it was the least stinky turd out there. In the whole dumpster bin of episodes, like this was the least smelly turd, okay? For a variety of reasons, it really wasn't as bad as the other episodes have been. For one thing, we got a plot, okay? Things happened this time, which have not been happening so far. We got some urgency. We got to go to space, which was cool, right? Like, yay, all of our little cadets are out there in space. It's great. And we didn't waste time with another pointless attempt at character development. That's very important because, to be quite honest with you, I was starting to hate every single character and hate myself for watching these characters, quote unquote, develop on the screen. Now, back to the question, was this actually a good episode? I don't think it's possible for any episode of Starfleet Academy to actually be a good episode. I mean, they have like ravaged this show so far to the point where anything could literally happen. They could like have the entire universe implode, right? Like they could have the biggest stakes of all time. And I just wouldn't care. I don't care about anybody in this show. I want the Borg to assimilate them. It's so dull and it's so contrived. So even though I will say this episode did have a few merits and was much easier to watch than previous episodes, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, there's not going to be a good episode because a good episode, to me at least, relies very heavily on an attachment to and an affinity for the characters. If I don't like the characters, I don't care what's going on. And I hate Jaden. I hate him. I don't like any of these characters, but I actively want something to happen to Jaden. Like I want to see his head. That is probably against YouTube's community guidelines and I have to cut that out. So no, this wasn't a good episode. And the things that made it a good episode were also wrong in some ways. While I am grateful that they decided to bless us with some semblance of a plot after 5 boring ass episodes, even the parts of this episode that could be considered good are just wrong. They're just out of place. And what I mean by that is like we took the stakes from like -1,000 to 1,000,000. Like literally, there was a bar fight scene between the 2 colleges in the last episode. There was nothing going on. Like if you're a Star Wars fan, it literally felt like going from the Mos Eisley scene to immediately to Luke's hand getting cut off by Darth Vader. Like there was no development in between. There was no, character relationship building. It was just bam, like right into it. And the stakes are high. You know that it's getting serious because Holly Hunter was sitting upright the entire time. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that things are happening, but even as things are happening, there has been nothing to develop it from the previous 5 episodes. So it's kind of jarring to see things moving so quickly right out of the gate.
That escalated quickly.
What would have actually made a lot more sense, at least for me, the way that I felt the show was going, was like get a group of these kids, the ones who were maybe on the Miyazaki, captured by the Venari Rawl. And it would leave the episode on like a cliffhanger. It would force the kids to work together. It would be like their first kind of like mission. But no, it's just bang, murder, kids are dead, bunch of people are dead, and the whole episode ends on like a down note. Which, don't get me wrong, was cute. It was cute to actually have an episode end on a down note. It was like, halfway through the season, one of the writers actually Googled the 3-act structure and was like, we need to have them face some kind of adversity here. I know, again, I don't care what happens. I'm so glad something is happening. But if I'm analyzing this and critiquing it in relationship to the rest of the series, it's just out of place. It doesn't fit. Like multiple things happened to mess with this pacing. The Vulcan kid dying, I mean, we barely established him as a character. The one defining element that we got of his character was that he really liked to read the Miyazaki comics. And then he has this like one brief interaction with Caleb where he's like, oh, you read the comics too. And then he's dead. And you're just like, that feels out of place. Like, we barely got to know these kids. You thought that they would be on a mission together, that things would be moving forward. And so when he dies, you're kind of like, oh, they did that, huh? Okay. Now, once again, I don't care about any of these characters, so it's not like affecting me emotionally. But that's also part of the problem, right? Like, you watch Game of Thrones and every character's death means something because you have gotten so attached to them, and also because you know that no one is safe. They set the tone season 1 when you thought Ned Stark was the main character, but spoiler alert, it was all kind of, it's just this whole tone, this whole time, the pacing, everything. This show doesn't really know what it wants to be. Wokeness aside, which is just borderline like soul crushing at this point. At some points it feels like it's Disney Channel. It feels like it's low stakes, happy go lucky. We're all joining arms and skipping across in the field. And then the next minute you're getting like nudity and extended gratuitous sexual intercourse. And then students are dying.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
You can't jump from like Harry Potter level, like it's not even Harry Potter level. It's almost like Cartoon Network, to be honest with you. Like it's like Kim Possible. We're going from like Kim Possible like to Game of Thrones, back and forth. And I'm so confused. The show is confused. The 5 people watching this, unironically, are probably confused. And at this point, it's just kind of like, okay, like wherever you decide to take it, I genuinely don't know, because you haven't established any kind of theme or tone that I can anticipate. So I'm just going to let you guys do your thing at this point. I'm having trouble relating this series to actual Star Trek. I'm having trouble relating it to Harry Potter because these elements don't exist in these other series, and it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel like it's honoring any of the previous franchises that it claims to be taking inspiration from. And there's been such little character development, such little establishment for any of this to have any depth or meaning. When they try to attempt to be serious, I'm not taking it seriously because I don't know if the next like line out of somebody's mouth is just going to be a sex joke. There's also just a few issues in general that don't really have much to do with the pacing overall of the series, but just some actual logistical problems within the episode itself. The first being that this whole situation that everybody finds themselves in, where, you know, the abandoned ship that they're kind of going through gets attacked by the Furies. How is any of that sort of threat or danger not foreseeable to the Academy, to like the chancellors, to the people who are running Starfleet? How are you not appropriately assessing these threat levels or like protecting your your boundaries? How are you not establishing what those boundaries are and protecting them for the sake of your cadets? It seems a little harebrained to me. It seems like very poorly thought out leadership. And maybe this is a result of this whole burn thing, which I'm not super familiar with, but I'm getting a little bit more familiar with. If that's the case, then I'm just going to go ahead and say, without having seen any of the Discovery series, that it feels like the burn itself is just a poorly contrived plot device to enable the writers to be able to, find these more lazy workarounds that probably wouldn't have worked in original Star Trek. But I would seriously welcome your comments on this or your thoughts. Definitely feel free to educate me on this, because I don't have the archive of knowledge that you all have. So definitely feel free to drop a comment in there, correct me, but it feels like lazy writing that this situation was even allowed to transpire in the first place. And then to add on to that, the Federation's solution to this seems to be to recall Paul Giamatti's character, this Noose Braca guy, and start to negotiate with him to get help to fight the Furies. And this just leaves a pirate, essentially, a person who is an extortionist, a murderer, in a place to be able to negotiate. That just doesn't feel like something that the Federation or that Starfleet would even consider as, oh, well, let's bring in this bad guy because the bad guy is going to want to help. You have to know that the bad guy doesn't care about you, that you're going to have to offer him something in return, and it's going to be a bad guy thing. And that's what he wants. He wants them to basically stop protecting this other planet from his extortion tactics, and for them to just leave it to him to be able to extort this other planet, or this causeway, basically this interplanetary causeway that he's been operating on. And they're basically in the process of trying to agree to that. And to be honest, that just felt like an excuse to bring back Paul Giamatti's character. The series is trying to be chronological. It's trying to have an overarching narrative where things and characters that are introduced in like episode 1 come back again, and the plot develops as the season goes, right? It's not just episodic. It's very much more of like this longer narrative. And they needed a reason to bring back Paul Giamatti's character, so this is the kind of reason that they invented. And it felt contrived. It didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like they were accidentally coming across him. Like the fact that they have to seek him out, it's just lazy. It's lazy. Again, I will take this. At this point, right, I have come so far from episode 1 where I was just completely disillusioned from the very beginning, and I thought, wow, this is the standard. I was wrong. I was very wrong. The standard kept going down and down and down and down with each further episode, that now that we're up here and we're dealing with Paul Giamatti again, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, because when he's on screen, that means some kind of external threat needs addressed. It just means that cause A brings about consequence B, and we're not just sitting around exploring our sexuality or some shit. Thank you, Paul Giamatti, for rescuing this series. One last just quibble I guess I would have with the plot is just the fact that once this training exercise kind of exploded into a full-blown crisis, the leadership involved didn't kick the cadets out and bring in the real officers. No. They had the cadets. They continued training the cadets through this life or death scenario instead of saying, hey, professionals, we need you on the bridge right now. No. You had Klingon lieutenant woman telling, boss babe laser tag girl, that's it, sweetie, you got it. You're doing so good on this. I've read your report. I think you'd be really good to co-pilot the shuttle with me. And you're like, no, I need a professional in here now. I read your report. That qualifies her. Like, no. Bring in Geordi, bring in Data, bring in Worf. Like, let's get the job done, people. Which just goes right back to what I have been saying this whole time. And what is just, it's so inexplicable to me how you could write a character so intentionally badly as Holly Hunter's character. It's like, Everything she does, she fails at. Every decision she makes is the wrong decision. It's incredible. It's incredible that you have the writers making her out to be the wise leader, the Jean Picard, the Dumbledore, when every single instance of her having to make a decision, she fucks it up. You know, what started off as this innocent little training exercise between the two colleges ended up in a mass death. It was incredible. All these people are dead. And then we find out, again, through Paul Giamatti's character, that she had like been in a similar situation and she let her son die on another ship. It's astounding. What has this woman accomplished one singular time except to sit upside down in a chair? What has she given us that makes us look to her leadership? She has to be one of the absolute worst captains in all of Star Trek. Please, if there is someone worse, you guys, get in the comment section right now and tell me, and I will go watch it, because I want to go through, as soon as I'm done with this whole Star Trek exercise, and I've seen some of every season, I want to go through and I want to stack rank who I think are the best Star Trek captains. And I just know, I know, without watching a lick of anything else, that she is the worst. She is so goddamn bad. It's amazing. It's impressive. Truly. You would think that the writers wouldn't set out to write this failure over and over and over again, but that seems to be their mission. Even when she's trying to tell hologram guy, the guy who keeps flickering annoyingly, she tells him like, hey, I got a bad feeling about this whole new Sprocka thing. I feel like this is contrived from the beginning and he's getting a one over on us. She still isn't able to get to the bottom of it. She still isn't able to be like, what is his plan? What is his plan? Ah, I got it. I'm going to cut him off before he's able to execute it. No, she still fails. She just goes in there and she's like, I don't like this. This is very straightforward. New Sprocka is not a straightforward person. And still fails. It's amazing. It's astounding how like unintentionally the writers have written such a failure for a leader. I'm honestly impressed. You know, and while we're on the subject of these poorly written characters who, you know, unfortunately are the backbone of this entire show, we got to address the Caleb Betazoid girl relationship. I've tried to avoid it, but at this point they've rubbed it so deeply in our faces that I have to address this. I'm not buying it. I'm not feeling the romance. I'm not feeling any type of chemistry. There is no line of dialogue that feels authentic to either one of these quote unquote characters. They're not even characters. They're just actors reading a script. Nothing feels authentic about this relationship whatsoever. It didn't feel authentic in the very beginning in episode 2 when they were introduced to each other and they were flirting with each other. Why? Because they didn't properly establish who Caleb was as a person. Episode 1, he was a feral criminal who's been on the run since he was like 6 years old. And now all of a sudden he's just moody, snarky teenager who makes like master debater jokes. You see where I'm going, guys? Like, it can't just be like this Family Guy humor thrown into like this Titanic Rose and Jack type of love affair. None of these two things are vibing, and it just feels like a fucking Pinterest board of like shows that these writers had liked from here and there, and they just kind of like cherry picked the things that they liked and tried to like Quasimodo that into a character. You know, and we get this in the second episode where he meets Betazoid Girl and immediately spills his entire guts to her. Like, that doesn't track with somebody who's forced to be on their own and in this mental state of like survival for like the past 15 years, decade plus. You don't just meet somebody and you immediately revert to like high school, almost a middle school type of interaction. Well, you know, the thing to know about me, my big secret is I can't find my mom and I've been on the run since I was 8 years old. No person who has realistically been in that type of situation would behave that way. So this whole romance between them was inauthentic from the very beginning because we just got exposition vomit. We didn't get relationship development. We just had characters vomiting their backstory onto each other, and they like called it chemistry. I just have to get this out there. I'm not a pearl clutcher. I don't think I'm a pearl clutcher. I've never really clutched my pearls in a lot of the things that I've watched. But when you just start off the episode with like this extended, gratuitous sex scene, and like, I guess technically it wasn't full frontal, but there was a lot of side boob going on. And it just, again, like, it just takes you out of it. Like, it is this forced romance that you never really built to that I'm supposed to buy. And the thing that so annoyed me was when Betazoid Girl was basically saving the day with her weird superpower, and she goes, "You're not going to want to date me after this, but at least you'll be alive," and then proceeds to save everybody's life. It's like, are we in middle school or are we in Game of Thrones? I'm not sure here, and at this point I don't care. Oh, this was another thing that kind of actually annoyed me about the plot, because while some of the characters saved the day and were able to do heroic things, which was nice to be able to see play out on screen, all of the heroic things that were done were not a result of anything they learned at Starfleet. They weren't a result of any actual character arcs. Betazoid Girl saving the day by like ripping out her implant and doing this like, scream thing that like basically, 11 style imploded all the freakies or whatever they're called. The Furies, that's what it is. She did that, but she's always been able to do that. But now she has it under control. We've never seen her develop that control. We haven't seen her try and fail at these kinds of things. So that whole heroicism, or that whole lift that she was able to do, is just kind of meaningless to us. Similarly, when Sam brings the computer back online, or when Caleb is doing any of his little programming shit, these are talents or skills or attributes that these characters have brought with them into Starfleet Academy. That doesn't make Starfleet Academy interesting. It doesn't make it elite. It doesn't mean that anything that they have learned in their time at Starfleet Academy has been applicable to the missions that they're supposed to go on. Isn't that the point of Starfleet Academy? To prepare these cadets to go out into the universe? So it's really doing a disservice to Starfleet Academy, because they could have built these skills in. They could have spent the last 5 episodes building these little challenges or little missions or little character arcs, where instead of just the characters exploring who they are and coming to terms with how awesome each of them truly are at their hearts, they could have actually been learning something tangible, something valuable that then gets applied to a crisis situation. That's asking a lot of this writing team, though. So we're going to just bring our expectations back down and just be happy for the action sequences that we got. While I'm grateful for Noose Braca bringing in some, action here, and by all accounts, just basically saving the series so far, it doesn't make sense, while we're on the subject of character motivations, it doesn't really make sense how much he hates Holly Hunter's character just for sending him to prison. Like, there's this whole dynamic between them where he wants to just basically undermine her and, cause her to have a mental breakdown. And he talks over and over again about how much he hates her.
You're the Antichrist.
What?
Yes, that's what you are. You are the motherfucking Antichrist.
But at the same time, he's supposed to be the sort of quirky pirate Jack Sparrow figure. How many times was Jack Sparrow arrested? How many times was he almost executed? Jack Sparrow didn't really feel like, I hate you now. I'm going to go on an entire revenge mission to get you back for attacking and imprisoning me. It's like, no, Jack just kept outsmarting them and kept going on to do his thing.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
And so it's like, what is it, Paul Giamatti? Like, are you just this, pirate character who's just super committed to doing bad guy things and just wants to get better at that and get the upper hand over Starfleet? Or are you this resentful little cretin who's so hate-filled that you have to get back at this one person who sent you to prison this one time for doing things that would have landed anyone in prison? So that whole character motivation is, again, it's just kind of like meandering. You can tell me on screen, yes, he hates her, and it should be clear that he's doing these things because he hates her. But when you really take a step back and you're like, but why does he hate her? You know what I mean? Like, Jack Sparrow didn't really hate the British Empire. He just spent his time trying to do his thing and like outmaneuver them. And he kind of laughed at them because he was so like nimble-minded, he could get around everything so easily. So it really, again, like when you really stop and you take an introspective look at each of these characters, none of their motivations add up. None of their interactions or any of their development actually amounts to anything because we don't have a writing team who understands character development, who understands how to actually write a character, clearly doesn't seem to understand how characters interact or even how they speak. So let's just scoop up, the little good that came of this one episode. Let's hold it close and let's hope that we can push that into the next future couple of episodes and just skate through on that goodwill to the end of this season, because my God, has it been a slog, you guys. But those are just my thoughts. I have many. I will be sharing more in future videos, but in the meantime, please tell me what you guys think. Get in there in the comments. Tell me if there's something from original Star Trek, that I'm missing that would add context to some of the stuff that I'm noticing on screen with Starfleet. That's always super appreciated. I'm also watching a lot of your recommended episodes. I'm going to probably do like another video about that here soon. But anyways, love to hear your thoughts as always. Please drop them in the comments. And if you like this video, please like, hype, subscribe so you can get more of my content. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.